Otsu here. Who else would it be? This is Observations with Otsu for April 28th. Hope you've had a good weekend overall. Just a quick introduction. We're going to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. We're also going to look at XRP today. I think we'll probably forego the total market caps. We will look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. So those five charts in particular, weekly time frame, as usual. Let's get started. One thing I want to mention before we get started, I just opened up my Patreon. This was something that is a matured version of the Apex group. That's something that we've been doing in Discord for about two years now. We did some upgrades. We did quite a few upgrades actually, and one of those was migrating to Patreon. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that out. This is the video I just did about an hour ago, and so gives you some insights. You can subscribe to watch this. I actually have a YouTube link right here if you just want to copy and paste that to give you like some sort of preview for the first video that I posted. But it's much more than videos. We have the Aroon bots. We have trading portfolio, things like that. So a lot of this is going to be daily insights as well. So you're going to get quite a lot of information. You're going to get weekly reports as well. So go ahead and check that out. There's three different types of plans that you can pick from depending on how aggressive you want your analysis and updates. Because I do updates daily, but I also do them weekly and I also do them monthly. So it depends on what you prefer. So go ahead and check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. And so that's the Aroon Trading Group. It used to be called Apex Trading Group. And so I'm going to do much more Aroon specific things. That's been a big request of mine. So going to start focusing much more on Aroon as a whole. So go ahead and check that out. Let's get started into the charts. So actually, the first chart I'm actually going to do is XRP. The theme for this video is relative to XRP and its recent approval for the ETFs. Okay, the ETFs are going to be joining here at about April 30th. It's going to be about 2 days from now. Now, there's a few different things. I know people got lots of questions. Primarily, what's I guess I'll just go over here. Like, what's the chart reaction going to be? So we'll get into that here in a second, but basically says the SEC green lights the XRP futures for April 30th launch. It's actually going to be three different ones. It's going to be based off of an index as well. You're going to have the Ultra XRP ETF with 2x leverage. Then you can short the XRP with 1x, and you can do an ultra short with a 2x as well. So those are the three things that are going to be activated, on April 30th. So that's part of it. Um, so this is kind of a future based thing. It's just something that kind of just got announced like over the weekend. It's very strange. Like a lot of stuff's kind of getting announced at really like strange times, but it's neither here nor there. You can see right now XRP is up about 4%, so that's pretty good here. Here's some analysis for this that I want to kind of mention first. So for the weekly, we've had a pretty good run so far, and for the past 4 weeks we've gone about 22%, which is it's okay. It's actually slightly below average for the market. It's not too bad overall. Um, but we're still doing pretty good here. The key thing is we're above this little range right here, closed above that on the weekly. So this is pretty good. I actually think this is going to go to all-time high pretty soon, probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think it's going to go to this week. I'm more realistic, I should say. I'm definitely bullish, but a little more realistic. Aaron Band is still bearish. We still have a bearish cross that happened at the 43% marker, but we have a bullish consolidation that transformed into a wedge. It just started the wedge, so we should get an acceleration to the upside. RSI has stayed above 50 for the most part, other than this little tick here. So it's doing pretty good. This is pretty healthy, actually, considering what we can make out of this. So another thing is you can look at this from a trend line perspective, and I'm going to put this right here. The reason I'm going to do this because I think this was pretty much a deviation. This was a good market response across the board, and then a rejection. When you get something pretty clean like this, I tend to not obey it as much. Now, if you do want to respect it, this is going to be your outlook right here. So $2.47 is kind of the marker for that, and so that presents two options. Okay, Aroon had a high bullish cross back in April 13th, doing pretty good since then. It's kind of consolidated a little bit, but it's starting to get that uptick. And again, the ETF news is coming here. It's already been announced. It's just a matter of how effective will this be. And I think it might be pretty effective. I wouldn't be surprised if we get like an 18 or 20% move here within the next 24 hours. So it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. RSI is above 50. Excuse me, I just all of a sudden got a raspy throat. So um, going, we already talked about the weekly. So here's a position I'm looking at on the daily. I was looking at this on the Binance chart. This is kind of what I'm expecting right now. And I looked at this a few moments ago, but entry right here for both of these would be roughly like a 2.8R to this side for about 40%. This is going to get you to the all-time high, or the local high, I should say, local closing high, to be even more specific. This right here is actually a pre-parabolic trend line. This is 6R here for 92%. And what this does is basically it's right at this level. And the whole idea of this is a trend line. You can do a trend line from this touch here on the highs back in December 2nd, this one here at January 16th. So this is a trend line, but this is going to be what I call a pre-parabolic trend line, a PPTL. And so what I'm looking at with that is theoretically it should hit this trend line to the upside without actually going super parabolic. So it theoretically could go 92% and then reject here. That's possible. But if it goes anywhere past that, then it's going to go exponentially higher, possibly 3x, 4x, 5x. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see where that goes. It could go either way, but I wanted to add both of these because this is a much more realistic swing trade right now. This is going to be a more optimistic trade, still relatively conservative, but a little more opportunistic, I should say. So that's basically XRP in a nutshell. What do I think about the ETF news? I'm not a fan of XRP, to be honest with you, but it is good to see not just the trajectory that XRP has gone on. It's been something that was pretty much dead in the water, survived all the SEC stuff, and now it's getting government approval, or I guess on Wall Street for the ETFs and the three indexes, which is funny because two of the indexes is actually a short position. So we'll see. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bullish or bearish. I just think that's very interesting. Um, but at the same time, it's also good to see some adoption as well. So very interesting. Just we'll see how the commentary works out over the next couple of days, since there's two shorts available. So for me, I think for normal people that have been in the crypto space, which are probably not normal people, um, this is a non-issue for me because I can just buy XRP as I want to. I've been able to buy it for 6 or 7 years now, so it doesn't affect me. I don't know why it would affect anybody, um, unless you just really want to focus on ETFs or what have you. So retirements, things like that. So anyway, that's the XRP kind of analysis. So we're going to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, but I'm going to detour just a little bit and do the Bitcoin dominance before we get into the other three. All right, now we're on the Bitcoin dominance chart. We're going to talk about the weekly and the daily here for the most part. We had another bullish candle going into the weekly close, and so we basically closed right at like 64, a little over 64%. We have the marker here at about the halfway point, about 65. This is where I think that we're going to probably start to reject a little bit, and we'll see how this goes. We're already kind of rejecting with the RSI here. If you want to kind of zoom this up even further, like 1 month, you don't have a divergence here, but you're getting pretty high up here. We actually have not been this high really ever, and so at least on the RSI. Now that doesn't really tell us anything, to be honest with you. I just thought that was kind of interesting, statistics wise. We do have somewhat of a divergence here on the 2 week, and so we're getting close to this marker here. And so what I'm kind of thinking that we're going to do is we're going to reject here over the course of the next month, and then we're going to have a pretty good quarter two. This is the reason I bring this up. I think a lot of people are going to be in for a shock to see how performative the second quarter is going to be. I mean, we had a pretty bad quarter one, and my gut tells me that the second quarter is going to make up for that. But I'm not listening to my gut, neither should you. I'm looking at the charts. The charts kind of tell me the same thing, that we're going to kind of revert back. And so this seems like this could be the case. And so just I thought I would bring that up here. And so that's pretty much what I see here. Now on the daily, we're starting to kind of get that divergence already. We're kind of starting to weaken just a little bit. And so we'll see where this goes. I don't want to do too much analysis on the Bitcoin daily. I just look in this from a stat perspective. This tells me that we're going to come back down just a little bit, and we'll see where that goes. Now, for those of you that may not know, um, you know, when Bitcoin dominance goes up, of course, the dominance goes up. Obviously, that's what the whole point of that is. But Bitcoin usually not just takes the market share, but also takes the price with it. Okay. And so when we tend to reject, when the dominance goes down, typically that's when alt season starts. Okay. So we are getting to the stage where I think you want dominance to start going down or at least staying the same. But you don't want Bitcoin dominance to get too high because that will stifle the market. If you're into altcoins, for example, if you're not, then Bitcoin's just fine. But if the dominance does go down, you should see an increase of altcoin performance. And if you think altcoins are doing good now, wait until the dominance actually kicks into the downside. And so that's why I'm saying I think when you start getting into May and June, I think the markets are going to look pretty good. The markets are already looking pretty good. But I think they might even look better. So that's the dominance chart. Let's get into Bitcoin and then continue with Ethereum and Solana. All right, so we're here on Bitcoin on the weekly. Had a pretty good week overall. One of the best weeks that we've had for a long time, really ever since like the November. November was a pretty good month. Now we're kind of back within that range here. I think this took a lot of people by surprise that how good of a week this actually was. We're above the band here on the Aroon. Now we can look at this from two different ways. Here is your range for the entire move. Okay, we're above the mid, so this is pretty good. Your range high is 104, lower is 78.3 or 250, I should say. We want to get above the mid. That's where we're at. So the reason I have this out here is because this helps us with the supply and demand. If it goes above the mid, then we're good to go. Okay. Long story short, a lot of people make this very complicated. It's pretty simple for me. Another way to look at this here is from this top marker here, actually really right here from this low, and we just hit just below it. So this is going to give us some conflict here on the daily. So if I kind of redraw this here, you're going to have two levels here. Here's your top level. Okay, we've rejected from that side. And then here's your other level. So we're kind of within two levels here, and I'll show this much more concrete on a different chart here in a few minutes, but we're still kind of stuck within these two levels. And this is one reason why we're kind of waiting this out for about 5 to 7 days already, because we need to wait for these two levels to work itself out. The top side of this is going to be 96.2. The bottom side of this is going to be 92,000. So that's pretty much how it's playing out with that. So now going back to the weekly, you have a very wide bullish consolidation here. It's 78%. That's pretty wide. So I think that we're going to continue here. In my opinion, I think we're going to continue to run for the next few weeks. I think we might even get an all-time high here by the end of May. So we'll see where that goes. Have an RSI bounce here on the 50. It's all looking pretty good. Now I've already marked this out here on the daily. I want to switch to this here. I have 4 different positions here. It's gonna be kind of confusing. I talked about this in the Bitcoin brief video. If you've checked those out before, this is my original position. Entry here was about 83.4. This is what I'm currently playing. We're about halfway through this, right? This is another one which tighter stop loss based off of the criteria of getting above this level, right? Now these two are going to be a little bit different, and these are based off of the reclaim of the level that I just mentioned. Okay, and so if we can get these, this is a pretty solid, this is a high leverage level, but this is a 6R trade at 10%. This one's at a 2R. So they're pretty much the same except for the stop loss is a little bit different. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But I still think the market's looking pretty strong here. I think those of you that are bearish, that are looking for a fade to kind of retest to get back in, I think you're going to be disappointed. I do think you will be disappointed. I think this is going to run farther than you might think, and this leads to some perspective I think people should have. There's a lot of people that were extremely bearish. I'm not even disappointed anymore. Like I've just seen this too many times where people just fall for the stupidest things. Okay, the news was very serious, right? Tariffs, everything like that. But it's all like like you shouldn't take it too much into consideration. Like you let this affect your trading. Like there's people out there that literally have like they make up to $1 million or more per year off of newsletters or paid groups that tell you to short the past couple weeks. And whatever, it's okay to be wrong sometimes. I got no problem with that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter in a sense. But you should be ashamed of yourself. Like if you're charging $200, $300 a month and you are telling people to do these things at the worst possible times. Okay. I got no problem. Like I said, it's okay to be wrong. I'm wrong quite often, actually. But it's one thing to tell somebody to short the market when you're up here like 106,000, or when you lost this level here at like 71 the first time. But when you get down here and you reclaim and then you pump up here, it's like you're kind of just not good at analysis, in my opinion. It just doesn't make sense. When you miss these obvious levels, and that's the thing that really bugs me about all the news stuff is like you see all this tariff stuff, you see all the shenanigans online, but you like these people miss major major moves. And one of the most major moves that you can make, I switched to a different chart here. It's the same chart, Bitcoin, but I'm looking at EMAs. Like EMAs are the easiest things that you can look at. Okay, and so you have the 200, you have the 100, and you have the 50 here. Okay, and we are all above this. Okay, when we started to consolidate here at the 100 and the 200, this was an obvious way to look at this, that we would get a reclaim here. Okay, and I'm not saying that it was supposed to happen. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is when you start to consolidate like this and you actually get pressure to the upside, that's an easy call. Okay, these are very simple things that you know people are missing, and they're missing it because they're too focused on either trying to sell you a group, sell you a membership, or they're trying to focus on the news. And the news is designed, I can tell you right now, the news is designed to get you to make a mistake. It's designed to get you to follow the news because there's a psychological factor put in play, and that psychological factor is designed to get you to get stopped out. Okay, here on the weekly, it retested the 50 just fine. Okay, these are very simple things here. Nothing really on the 2 week here. Um, you know, These are pretty obvious things in my opinion. 3 day was kind of hit or miss here, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Like these are very easy things that just get missed. So anyway, so that's the analysis for Bitcoin. Let's go to Ethereum. So Ethereum and Solana are going to be a little bit easier to talk about. Now with Ethereum, I've been looking at this from this weekly time frame. I have a video um, that I posted about 2 weeks ago, really at this candle. I think at the end of this candle, so probably this one, that discusses why I think Ethereum has bottomed. I gave 4 reasons why. Those 4 reasons are still intact. This is still looking pretty good. This was before we had this pump, by the way. And so we closed this week here with a very solid 12%. Haven't had that in quite some time. Okay, it's been a few months since we've had this, so this looks pretty good. Now, what's the good news? One, we have the 12% move at the mid retest, pretty good. We technically closed above. Actually, we closed below here on the weekly. I think the daily is a little bit different story. Actually, we rejected just a little bit, but we're still within this range. So the daily is going to show you playing this range one side or the other. So if we still get above 1865, we can long this. If you go below 750, this all is for nothing, and then we're in danger of deviating. We don't want to do that. Okay, the deviation point would be right here at the breaker, about 1614. So basically, if we lose like 1600, we're probably going to actually go back down to like 1300, and so hopefully 1320, I should say. So let's hope that does not happen. There's a lot of things that could happen before then, so I'm not too concerned. On the Aroon, we have a bullish wedge, 78-0, so that's pretty solid. I still think that we should continue to get this retest. I'm actually looking at like 21-22 here. This would be much more confident, and I think we can get it. Just need to be a little more patient with this. RSI is not yet above 50. That's going to be the biggest thing. The momentum is just not here. But that also could be a good thing because we still have time, right? And so even if it goes above here to the 50, we still have plenty of room to go. Whereas, other coins, like 58 for Bitcoin, by the way, and then, we're still below on Solana. So you have some time with this. We'll see how it plays out. The daily does not look bad. We're still above the band here. Starting to retest here. This could be a good move in disguise. So we just kind of got to wait it out for a couple days. But those are the levels, and that's the weekly time frame. So very, very short and sweet with this one. Let's go ahead and go to Solana to end the video. All right, on to Solana here. We actually had a pretty good week as well. Not as prolific as other coins, but really from the lows that we had, we're up about 40%. So that's pretty good, better than XRP actually. And so we're up about 2.5% right now. So not doing too bad. The biggest thing that I keep mentioning as far as price action was the deviation. When we deviated above the range, that was a sign that this would be a long. Okay. And so since that deviation, we've gone 18, almost 19% from current price. And I still think this is going to continue. We're still within two levels here. Okay, the mid level of the higher one's about 173. Lower one's going to be about 119 or so. So about 120, I should say. So those are the two levels that we have to work with. Now, Aroon's at a bullish wedge again, 78.0. 78 to 0 seems to be all three of them. And that's actually a good sign. That basically means that the bear side's got a lot of room to flip this to the upside. So this is also why I think that our run is going to continue higher, is because we still have a lot of room before we need to revert this. Okay, and so our side's still below 50, but that's just fine. And so overall, it's kind of what I'm looking at as far as the levels. I'm going to go here to this other chart here. This is this weekly chart. These two in the gray are what I was looking at before. This is the deviation levels. Both of these are in profit. The red one is the current one that I'm looking at. This is actually a current trade that I'm looking at from a few days ago. It's coming back up to break even right at the time of this recording. And so this is an active trade that I'm looking at. It's a 5R trade for 66%. It's going to tag basically the below, or the mid level, I should say, of this. And so I got the wrong indicator here. It's kind of what I'm looking at, mid range of this. You could front run this if you want to at about 4.6. That's completely fine. I'm going to target the mid. So that's what that looks like. And so I think this is going to be something that might take a few days to kind of work itself out, but I think this is good. The key range here is going to be this level, this deviated level. If we can get above this zone, I think the hardest part is going to be this lower level from 152 to 178. Once we get above that, this should come pretty quickly, in my opinion. So that's pretty much it for Solana. I think it's going to go. I think it's going to do well. I think the market looks pretty good, honestly. Okay, that is the video. So kind of recap. I think XRP is looking pretty solid. I think these are the two levels I'm looking at. Here's your basic swing trade level. This is your pre-parabolic trend line trade. I think the ETF news is going to probably do well. I think there's going to be a curveball with the two short positions on that. But I still think the chart looks good by itself, and I would expect all-time high within the next 2 weeks, probably less. Bitcoin, we talked about this. We talked about these 4 trades. 2 of these are active from a couple weeks ago. I'm looking forward to. Needs to get above about 95,600 and some change. We'll see if we can get that. I think this one would be a very great 6R trade if we can get that. Ethereum, it looks pretty good to me. I think you just got to be patient with this one. Kind of got to baby it just a little bit with the weekly of the retest. But we'll see. I think it's improving. This one's going to be a slow burn, I think. And then Solana, of course, you had those 2 weekly trades from the deviation doing good. This current active trade looking just fine here. Just kind of got to wait it out. So anyway, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and have a good week.